Welcome to the Work Camping with Why Not Wonder podcast. One request we have had more than any other for this podcast is to have a solo female work camper on. We are so excited to introduce you today to Lena. Lena has been a solo female work camper for 2 years, and we are so thankful that she was willing to share her experience with us.
All right. So, what did you do pre RV life? Why did you make the change?
Yeah, so before I started this journey, I was kind of in everybody's like normal situation. I did the 9 to 5, so I actually worked for a smaller dental pharmaceutical company. So they did anything from front of house to back of house within the dental world. So that's anywhere from paper, toilet paper, all the way to the lidocaine, the fentanyl, the heavy narcotics for that. I started off as a accounts receivable, and I loved it. I did really good, but I very quickly learned how to do that, and that was kind of more of a position where you learn it and you're stuck there, or you have to wait for somebody else to retire or unfortunately kick the bucket for you to move up to the next level. But thankfully they actually had an opening in their sales and customer service department, so I transferred over to that team. And again, this is a very small company at this time, and whenever I transferred over, I absolutely loved it. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it's because I talk to people all day long, because I like to do that, but I thrived in it. I did really good. I did it for 2 years. And then unfortunately, the company got bought out, and who bought them out, I didn't like the way it was changing. Like the culture was changing. Just the way that they did things changed. And I was like, I don't like, that's not for me to stay for that. So I left, and it happens to everyone, but I thought the grass was greener on the other side, and it was not. It was worse than what I was gonna stay in. But thankfully, everything happens for a reason. So because I chose that job and that didn't work out, I was like, well, like let's apply for seasonal jobs. And now right before I started applying for seasonal jobs, I just bought the little A-liner campers, like the hard-sided tents. And I want to say it was a 2006 that I bought. It was at that time $3,000 or $4,000. And where I was at in my point in life, I was like, well, that's not much. Like, let's go ahead and buy it. Paid it in cash. And I was like, this is going to be like a trial error. If I like it, then I'll upgrade a camper. And if I don't like it, no harm, no done. So, oh, and I forgot to mention at this point, sorry, I forgot to mention, I actually just bought a house about 5 or 6 months before I got this camper. So I just got into my first house, and as I was applying for these part-time jobs and these seasonal gigs, I ended up on, I think it's the USDA government site, and I applied for a place in Acadia. And then they turned around and emailed me their rejection and was like, no, we don't want you, but we are going to send your information to someone else. And that someone else was American Land and Leisure in West Virginia. So they called me, and I want to say this all happened really quickly, but I want to say they called on a Wednesday, and I talked to Bob, which was the manager of like that particular area or region, and they wanted me to go to Spruce Knob Lake Campground. If you've ever Googled it, that is the most primitive spot that I've ever done. Like you've got water and that's it, and you've got pit toilets. That's it. And now the A-liner doesn't have anything but a water connection, and that's it as well. So May and I really, we really went for it. So that was on a Wednesday, and he turned around that evening and was like, well, you're accepted. Like, when can you get here? And I was like, well, when do you guys need me? You know, like I can put in a week's notice or 2 weeks notice. And he was like, well, we kind of need someone like yesterday. And I said, okay, well, I'll be up there on Friday. So from Wednesday to Friday, I packed up my whole house, me, my mom, my granny, we packed up my whole house. And I was like, just put it in boxes. Like in 3 months, if I still am happy with being in West Virginia, let's put the house up and let's just rent it, because I don't want to deal with it, but I don't want to sell it because I'm never going to buy, like, because I knew I got a good deal for it. And I was like, that's never going to happen again. And I didn't want to sell it. I seen like the long-term aspect of it. Yeah, I got to West Virginia, and I will tell you what, if you want to get to know yourself, go and do primitive camping with no internet, no Wi-Fi, no nothing, and you will get to learn yourself real quick. It was the most challenging time I think I've ever had, but honestly the most fun. Like I really did get to know myself. Like I figured out life. Like that was hardcore, because It was literally May and I and nothing, because it was 45 minutes to get off that mountain, and that was one way. And I, for some reason, loved it. And after I cried for 4 weeks, I figured it out, and I was like, yep, I think I'm going to stick with this now. And here I am 2 years later.
With an upgraded rig.
Yes, I am in a 2020 Jayco J Flight. So I now have like a little kitchen. I've got an actual shower. I've got a bathroom. I've got like, yeah, going from that to this, I've got it made here. I'm good.
That's so awesome. I love what you said about the crying part because we talk about that often. I cried, oh goodness, for a long time when we first hit the road. And it was a dream. I mean, we were so excited to hit the road. It was like we were happy about the change, but I still cried and cried and cried.
Yeah. Well, because it's a lot. Like, I don't think I was mentally prepared for the difference. Like, I think I watched y'all's video like whenever I was back home. Like, I can remember it, like just watching and figuring out, like, is this something I want to do? Because in my mind, I was like, how am I going to financially like afford myself? That was the biggest thing, because I was like, I'm not retired. Like, how am I going to make it with me and May? Like, I've got myself to pay for, I've got my dog to pay for, and I want to be able to experience and do activities. So I was lost and I was really nervous about it. And that was it's a totally different lifestyle, and I think mentally it's very challenging, and I don't think people quite realize the mental challenge, because I didn't.
So, what do you love about work camping?
Honestly and truly, I would say it's the freedom. I think that's been the biggest thing, because nothing's really like holding you to one place. So with the seasons, in which I'm still kind of learning that side of things, but you're only here in one particular spot for anywhere between 3 to about 7 months. 7 months is the longest that I've been. And I really truly think it's the freedom that I love about it, because if you don't like a spot, in my mind, anybody can stick anything out for 6 months. That's not always the greatest motto, but if you don't like it, your house has got wheels and you can just peel right on out. But yeah, I think the freedom and just literally being able to explore, that's been the greatest thing, especially coming from like South Carolina in a smaller town. Pretty much everyone there visits the two same places year after year. Like, no one hardly leaves, no one travels, type of thing. I think it's been great, like literally mind blowing, honestly.
That's awesome.
So if freedom is your most favorite part of work camping, what would be your least favorite?
It is going to have to be the management of the places I work.
Micromanagers.
Yes, and I am not good with that. Like, I need you to tell me what to do and leave me alone. Like, if you're breathing down my neck,
That's us.
yeah, yes, that has been the hardest. Every place I go, I'm always like, I learn one new thing to ask, one new platform to look at, one new Facebook group to go look at for like reviews and things like that. But I would say that's got to be the worst part, is literally the management.
Most of the jobs we've had, the management's been good, but we did have one job in particular where they micromanaged, and I just don't do well with it, and that was really difficult.
We ended up leaving that job actually, not for the
that
micromanagement.
reason.
Yeah.
No, for other horrible reasons, but yeah, it kind of went along with everything else.
Yeah.
So how do you decide where you want to work camp? Like, where do you go next?
In the past, I've done it based on location and or job type. So whenever I first started in West Virginia, obviously that one was just, I didn't pick that one. They picked me, and that's just how I ended up there. And then the next one was Lahidas Golf Resort, but I ended up there because of Cool Works, and I learned a heck of a lot of lessons there. And that one I chose just because I was looking for winter, and I didn't really understand winter in an RV, because I was like, I don't want to be in snow, and I didn't want to be somewhere where my pipes could freeze, and wind, and there's like so many factors that come with wintering, and I didn't really know. I guess I didn't really do a lot of research either, and I was like, well, they're in Texas, they're in South Texas, like I'm not going to have any problems. And that's how I ended up at that one. And then Utah, I actually picked that one because it was not necessarily like in the middle of the big five, but I was pretty much in a very good location to be able to explore all the big five. So I was like 30 minutes, I'm going to say south, but I don't know. I was down the mountain road from Bryce Canyon National Park, so maybe that's south, I don't know. But about 30 minutes from Bryce Canyon National Park, and I was pretty much surrounded by national forest, which for me is a huge thing, especially having May, because national parks aren't dog friendly, but the forest are. So that's the reason I chose that one, was really the ideal location, but it was also dog friendly. And then from there, I ended up here because I was like, I needed to be by the beach. Like, I missed the beach, I missed the ocean, and I just scoured the internet, and the only thing I could find was a volunteer, which has been very interesting. It's the first volunteer position that I've done, and it's been quite challenging. But again, everyone that I go to, I'm always learning something new. So I take it as a lesson learned. And then I'm going to Colorado next. And then Colorado, I chose that one because of the job position, because it's an activities coordinator. And I was like, oh, that would be so fun. Like, I love to coordinate and plan and do all that anyways. So we're going to give that one a try. We'll see how that goes.
That's so cool. So you've given locations of jobs, but can you kind of just give a summary of the different jobs you've done?
Oh, yeah. So in West Virginia, I was a campground manager because at Spruce Knob Lake Campground, it's very primitive. And I want to say that one had 42 sites. So that one, I pretty much took care of the campground. So that's taking care of the pit toilets, which is actually really easy. I don't know why a lot of people don't like to do that. It's super easy. And I drove the golf cart around. I picked up, the firewood. I sold firewood. That did include like mowing and weed eating, which I didn't appreciate, but I learned a trick. They had a push mower, but the push mower wasn't like the one that propelled or the one that kept going, whatever that one's called. I don't know.
Self-propelled.
And self-propelled, thank you. Yes, it wasn't self-propelled. So I got smart, and May and I would sit on the golf cart, and I would take the bungee cords and I would get the thing running, and I just drag it with the golf cart. So I got smart with that. That helped. A lot of people laughed at us, but I was like, you know what? We're going to figure out how to do this. That's going to be a little bit more like efficient here. Um, that's what we did there. That one was very simple though, very easy, because again, it's primitive. So you don't have the electrical boxes, you don't have the sewer connections, just bare bones. In West Texas at Lajitas, I originally got hired there for the campground and their emporium clerk. So I was supposed to float between the two. And then that didn't end up working out due to a power issue there, and just the way that that whole issue was kind of handled. So I moved to another department. I moved to landscaping. So then I ended up being the landscape coordinator, which is just basically where you're working hand in hand with the golf superintendent, and then you're helping making sure the guys are on schedule, just invoicing, basically like your admin type of work. And then Utah, I was doing, I think my technical title was park service. I think that was my title, park service. Essentially, there, I just pretty much stayed in the office and I helped do that. I helped do inventory, and I actually helped them set up Hip Camp, because Hip Camp actually ended up doing really well for them. So that was really fun to go in and actually help and set up and create all that and manage all of that. But I did that platform, the dirt, and RV Life, I think we are on that one now. And I helped set up like a few other ones. And so that one was really fun because I enjoyed, kind of learning the marketing side of things and, getting all that out there. That was really fun. And then here in Santa Barbara, I'm at Elings Park. So it's just volunteer. So you have to volunteer. It's like 20 to 25 hours. And you just go around, you pick up, trash or whatever people don't feel like putting in the trash can. You just make sure, the big thing here is making sure the dogs actually have like their ep dog jingles, like their little tag bandana things, because you have to pay for your dogs to be members here. And then you sit at the kiosk and you do parking. Yeah.
So what's your favorite job been so far then?
So far, the actual job itself, I would say, would be the one in Utah, just because I really did enjoy learning the marketing. That was the first time I was ever like able to do something like that, and I really enjoyed it. I thought that was fun, just kind of seeing like both sides of it, the camper side of it and the actual like ownership side of it. I thought that was really neat.
And your least favorite?
Ooh, yeah, it was doing the Emporium clerk at Lahitas. Because that's just so boring. You just sit there and you just wait for someone to come in to like buy a shirt. I didn't like that. I gotta be busy. Did not like that one.
So answer the same question, favorite and least favorite based on location.
Favorite location is here at Elings Park, so that's Santa Barbara. Least favorite is going to be Lajitas in Texas, because that is you're in the middle of nowhere, and the closest town that's not going to charge you $5 for a stick of butter is in Alpine, and that's 89 miles one way. Like, I remember that number. I know exactly. That was the absolute worst, and I did not realize like how, one, it wasn't like dog friendly, but two, like if you go, I can't remember the name of the town now, but it's, so Lajitas is just like the golf resort, but they ended up making it like their own town. And then the next town, the locals there, they just had their dogs just completely off leash, but they were very much like street dogs. And May and I aren't used to that. So May doesn't like a dog's like running to her very quickly. Like she doesn't like that. I don't like that. It makes me nervous, which makes her more nervous, which doesn't end up in the good situation. So we just never did that. So that would definitely have to be the worst for me.
One of the worst things you can do when you hit the road as a full-time RVer is rely on campground internet. To say it is unpredictable would be an understatement, but finding our own reliable internet is a challenge we did not anticipate. We struggled through an entire year of endless connectivity issues with the first mobile internet provider that we used. We thought it was normal as full-time RVers until we found OTR Mobile. OTR Mobile has literally changed our life and ability to stay connected on the road. Now, no matter where we are work camping or traveling to, we don't even have to think about our connection anymore because we have fast, reliable, and unlimited internet wherever we go. Thank you to OTR Mobile for sponsoring this episode of Work Camping with Why Not Wander. So, one of the most exciting things for having you on that we have been asked the most is solo work camping, in particular, solo female. We have so many women who message and want to know what it's like. Is it possible? Not only is it possible, but what is it actually like? Because they feel like they need a man to be able to do this. So I'm super curious what your experience has been as a solo female work camper.
Yeah, so honestly and truly, like, everything has been, I'm not going to say easy breezy because it hasn't been, but I would say there are challenging aspect sides of it. But I think at the end of the day, I think it's been one of the best decisions that I've ever made. But at the same time, one of the hardest things is community, especially if you're more of an outgoing person. Community can be something a little bit trickier to navigate or try to figure out. That's been my experience. But honestly and truly, I make family everywhere I go. I don't know what it is. I guess it's because I'll sit there and talk to you, and especially having May. So I guess maybe you have to have a dog if you're going to do this solo. Maybe, I don't know. But so May, I always end up finding someone who has a dog or someone who is a dog friendly person. And whoever May takes a liking to, generally that's who like my quote unquote family is for that season. And that's been, I mean, absolutely amazing. I think that's been one of the greatest things, because I don't know if it's the fact that I'm doing it solo or if it's because I'm younger, or I don't know what it is, but generally, like, that family member, like, we get very close in such a short period of time. And I love it. I think that's like one of the most special like parts about doing this.
I was going to say, just from your videos, I can tell it's so easy to see why people fall in love with you. Like, just watching your YouTube channel, we both, like, he watched your leak, was it Leak and Lessons?
Yeah, leaking lessons. That was
And
great.
he sent me a text and he's like, strong, independent woman.
Yes.
Yeah, you've got a wonderful personality. You're very easy to like.
Oh, thank you. Because that's so funny that you say that, because Kelly texted me and she said, the ones from Utah, she texted and she was like, "Hey, Mickey texted me and said something's wrong with your kitchen. Like, what is it? Like, do you need to call me? Like, do we need to figure something out? Like, I can YouTube this for you, or like I can video call and help you." And I texted her back. I was like, "No, like I got it fixed." I said, "You guys go watch that because I think I just made you proud. So you need to go watch it."
You did a great job.
Thank you. It was one of the challenges of doing this solo because I I don't have all the tools, and I don't even know. I think in the video I said I didn't even know what the little clamp thing is called, and I still don't know what the little tooth thing is called. I don't know half of these tools names, right? Like I don't know, but like somebody, I will guarantee every solo person, somebody that is work camping in that same spot that you're in, somebody's got the tool. I guarantee it, and somebody is willing to help you. Um, and I think that's the thing. I think just literally being open to saying, "Hey, I need help." I mean, you would be surprised at how many people would come and help you. Like some of the people that come here to the park that have dogs, like they'll come up and they'll ask like if there's anything I need. Like I've had people leave oranges like at our door. We've got people leaving tea and they're like, "Hey, just we were thinking of you and May," or they'll bring treats for May. And
That's so
I
sweet. So sweet.
yeah, yeah, that's the part I love. I will say the only thing that the only downfall, I guess, is I won't say you're limited to jobs, but certain jobs are going to only require or only accept couples. Like the biggest ones that I would really want to do is the lighthouses in Oregon. I'm never going to do that unless like someone has like a van and they're like, "Hey, like we can pretend to be a couple. Like I'll just park right beside you." I mean, that's like a one in a million to figure that out, because you got to at least like that person long enough to see them for so long.
Right.
So I think that'll be the challenging part. But I mean, most of the time, you're going to be able to find somewhere close to where you want to be, I think, to be able to work camp. I don't think finding a job would be a problem.
Somebody needs to start. You saying that, it just made me realize somebody needs to start a Facebook group or something for solos who can pair up for
Yeah.
locations. That would be so good.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yep.
So I know there's ladies out there that have to be wondering, what about safety? Do you ever fear your safety or anything like that being solo?
Honestly and truly, no. The only time I was like a little worried for my safety was whenever I was coming from Utah to here. And I want to say it was the Mojave Desert. And now at that time, my uncle flew in to Vegas and he road tripped with me from there to here. And we did a little BLM camp. And at the middle of the night, I heard because where we parked was on rocks and gravel. And I heard the gravel crunching. And I'm like, that's not wind. Like I hear it outside my window. But I heard crunching and I told my uncle, I said, "Are you up?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "Do you hear that?" I was like, "Something's out there." And he said, "Nothing's out there. It's just the wind." I said, "No." I said, "Listen." I said, "Something's out there." So he's like, "Well, what do we got?" And I, like, at that time, I had the kitchen table laying down. So the pole to hold onto the kitchen table, I had that. And I gave him some kitchen knives. And we went outside, turned on the little light. Now, we didn't see anyone. But the next morning, right around the corner, there was a car parked. And I was like, I knew I didn't just make up something in my head, but that was someone. But because it's so quiet and it was a desert, them getting out the car, I heard it. So that's the only scary part. Otherwise, I haven't had any issues. I don't know if it's because in my mind I have May and I'm like, well, if somebody sees May, in my mind, I'm like, they'll at least second guess it. And then I don't know. I always trust my instinct though. Like if I ever have like a weird feeling that's like I probably shouldn't be here, or if I just like feel weird, or if I get like a weird vibe, I guess I'm like because I've done that a few times with May on a hiking trail, and I'm like, no, like I don't know, it's something I just didn't like, and I'm like, you know what, we're gonna turn around, we're gonna find something else to go do, but it's not here. But otherwise, no, I haven't had any safety issues. We just pack up and go.
What about towing and hooking up and dropping your rig, and no issues there? Was it a learning curve or?
So that was a learning curve. So before I even learned how to back up this camper, my mom made me learn how to back up the little towing trailers, like the little ones that you towed around a lawnmower with. And if you can back that up, I think you can back up anything, because those things you turn in 2 seconds and that thing is completely jackknifed and you're like, okay. It's definitely a learning curve, but honestly and truly it's not that hard, I would say.
So, also on the topic of solo work camping, what would you say about the financial aspect of it? Do you find it to be more challenging, or is it just something that you've been able to make work?
For me, I really haven't seen it to be much of a challenge. What I do, like, I'm very good at budgeting, so I think I've got that going. But also, whenever I left home, I didn't leave with bills and payments. So the only thing I have to pay for is the camper, but that's under $200 a month. And then, so insurance, that's all paid yearly. So that also helps me because it's paid one lump sum at a time. And then it's also cheaper. So that's yearly. And then all the jobs, generally you're making at least minimum wage, if not more, is what I've been experiencing. Here in California, this has been the hardest financially for me. But again, it's volunteer. And I said I was only going to be able to stay here so long because somebody can only eat peanut butter and jellies for so long. But I knew that before I got here. Otherwise, honestly and truly, everywhere else, it's really been pretty, I'm not going to say easy, but I think it really depends on what you're looking to get out of this lifestyle. Like, I can't stress that enough, because May and I in Utah, I think we ate more canned soups at beautiful locations because we chose to, like, just, boondock, and we just car camped essentially is what we did most of the time. And whenever we did that, we would just pack a canned soup, pack a PB&J or cook dinner, and then take it with us in the cooler. So if you're bringing food and you're sleeping in your car, you're not paying for anything. So you're only paying for gas, really. I think that's been the biggest thing. And everywhere I go, one of the tips that I always do is I always go to the library, and I always try to get a local library card. So, and then that way, like, you can hook it up to, like, your Kindle, or, like, you can, if you're close enough to the library store, you can actually get the books there. And sometimes, depending on their library, sometimes you can get good discounts, especially, like, for state parks. Like, you can do, like, the week pass sometimes, or they'll have, like, extra, like, activities that you can, like, use or borrow a pass from them, and then you're not paying. So then that activity is free.
So, what has surprised you the most about work camping?
I think the long-term relationships. In my mind, I was thinking I wasn't really going to be able to make really good, strong connections. And that actually turned out to be totally a lie. Like, it's quite amazing. It's really cool. Like, especially the family in Utah, like, we all still text message, we all still phone call, and we'll check in on one another. Honestly and truly, yeah, I think it's the long-term connections, really, because I didn't think the people that I met on the road or on the trails and things like that, I didn't expect any of them to really be able to grow and flourish like they have. But I think that's been honestly the one of the beautiful sides of this as well.
I think we'd agree with that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we've had one especially very close friendship that we've actually followed each other around to different work camping jobs just so we could be together. So,
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
yeah, and we didn't expect it at all either.
No.
Caught us by surprise, because I think we both hit the road thinking, I don't know if we even really thought about it, but I don't feel a need. I'm not like you. I'm a total introvert. So I'm probably the farthest away from extrovert as a person can be. And so, like, relationships and hanging out with people is last on my list. But I'm thankful for the friendships we've made.
Yeah, some really good friendships. And when we were in Florida, another couple, they happened to be in Florida at the same time, so we met them for dinner. And so, yeah, we've made some really cool friendships just through work camping.
And that's one of the things I never expected, like, everybody, I think looking back, I've seen videos and people talking about the communities and the relationships that come from it. But in my mind, I was thinking, oh, that's just social media, like, trying to paint this great and wonderful picture again. And it's not like that. But that part is true. Like, that part is true. I'll give him that.
So, what's your number one tip for someone who's looking to get into work camping? Let's say as a solo female work camper.
Ooh, my number one tip, get a dog. Honestly, get a dog. If I didn't have May, I don't know if I would be doing this. Like, May is my literal best friend. Yeah, I feel like I'm not going to say you have to have a dog, even though I think I said that earlier, but I think that is one of the biggest things. Like, especially if you're an animal lover, you need a dog. Like, you need that. I don't know. I guess you don't need it, but I feel like that would be the number one thing. You need a pet.
Okay, so kind of switching gears a little bit from work camping, more over to the full time RV life. What do you love about full time RV life? And it's probably going to be the freedom that goes right along with work camping, but is there anything else?
The abilities to literally pack up your house and move it wherever. Like, if you want to be by the beach, go be by the beach. If you want to be by the mountains, go and do that. If you don't want to see anybody and be in the absolute middle of nowhere, then by all means you can do that. I think that's the coolest part. Like, your technical home can be anywhere. Wherever you want it to be, you can park it there.
That's a great answer.
Yeah. What about your least favorite thing about full time RV life?
The pipes and the sewer lines and electricity. All of that stuff that I don't understand.
Do you travel when going back to work camping? Just because I'm curious, when you're going from one work camping job to the next, do you leave time in between to kind of see places along the way, or are you pretty much going from one to the next just to get there?
So I do leave time. So I was actually, before we hopped onto this call, I was actually kind of doing a trip planning, because I think I'm going to take about 2 weeks off to get from here to Colorado, or yeah, to Colorado, because there's some girls in Utah that I want to go back and see again. And we're going to try to meet up. So I think we're going to do probably 2 weeks. Um, but yeah, I generally take anywhere between 1 week to 4 weeks. It just depends on kind of like what's going on. If I got like an end of season bonus, or like what money I was able to like really put aside for travels, because I think that's one of the biggest things is, one, gas prices, and then also two, like the unexpected. Like, that's, I don't even know how to say it, but basically like what could go wrong, it's going to go wrong during that time frame. In my mind, that's what's going to happen. It's not going to happen whenever you're parked somewhere and you've got, stability and things like that. No, it's going to happen whenever you're just driving down the road and you ain't expecting it. So yeah, I don't know how I got on that tangent.
So, have you had any blowouts or any mechanical issues since you've been on the road?
Knock on wood? No. Knock on wood, I have not.
What's your number one tip for someone looking to get into full time RV life?
Go on Facebook and literally just apply to be in a lot of Facebook groups, because there are so many in there. And I think for me, that was the number one. That, and going through YouTube and actually watching people's like day in the life, or the realistic sides of the vlogging style videos of work camping. I would say those are the two biggest ones. And honestly, just know that your house is going to have wheels. So if you somehow choose a very horrible job or location, you can pack up and go somewhere else. Like, nothing's that big of a deal. And I think I've really learned that since being on the road. You should not be in such of a stressful situation or a stressful job or anything like that. Like, life is way more precious than just sit there and be stressed out over something that makes absolutely no matter. You know what I mean?
So true. So true.
Yeah.
So, where can people find you on social media? What platforms?
So YouTube, we're on YouTube at Lana McManus. So it's Lana and then McManus, McManus. And then we're also on Facebook. We're at Lena and Lily May Explore. So it's little photos of May and I try to share like some little short reels. And most of the things that I share are mostly like the adventure side of the work camping experience. And then I do like photos and more short reels on Instagram too, which Instagram is EM Georgia, like the state underscore.
Well, we've enjoyed watching your YouTube channel for sure, and I know you watch her on other platforms, but
Yeah, and we'll have all of the links below to all of your different places people can find you.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I think it's been really fun. I enjoy sharing it because, if you can fake it till you make it, you've got that and you can just roll with it.
thanks so much for listening to the Work Camping with Why Not Wander podcast.
You can see today's show notes at whynotwonder.com/podcast. And if you haven't done so already, please sign up to receive regular updates from us, along with special discounts at whynotwonder.com/updates.